Get your Bibles, you got it with you.
Marty, I do just want to thank the Lord for His blessing. Thank Him that He says what you agree again, He'll be there, and I thank Him for filling His Spirit.
And it's also not just in that church, it's in other churches.
Well, I've been fighting all week, y'all know that. Mama, Tracy, all of the staff, Tammy, Tyler. That was one of the hardest things. I kept thinking I don't know what to do or what to say. All week long, God's led me to this passage, and I don't know why, or didn't know why. Let me tell you, I struggled with this all week. And I know kind of what you're going to think where I'm going, but maybe not. Just bear with me. Don't take this as a personal thing, but it is a personal thing. Y'all know me, I don't shy from controversy. I don't shy from nothing. I can't go on until I deal with situations. I can't just pretend things don't happen and pretend that this is over there and this is over here. I've got to deal with, and I've got to deal with the way the Bible says deal with things. And so, turn to Luke 22. Luke 22. And we're going to skip down through here quite a bit, so just follow with me. I'm going to kind of give the whole story. And then we're going to go back and kind of look at some things that I believe that God has given me this week. For how I would go forward this week. Rough week of work. Rough week of work. Luke 22. And I'm going to tell you the title of what I've titled this first. I know where your minds are going to go as soon as I say the title, but just bear with me. The title of this is Forgiving Judas. Forgiving Judas. Judas gets a bad rap, y'all. And he did. He betrayed Christ. We know the story. We know all about it. We're going to kind of look at it, but I want to look at it a little bit different tonight. Luke 22, verse 3. Then entered Satan into Judas, surnamed Iscariot, being of the number of the 12, and he went his way and communed with the chief priests and captains, how he might betray him unto them. They were glad and coveted to give him money. And he promised and sought opportunity to betray him unto him in the absence of the multitude. But in verse 14, I'll take a whole lot of time reading the whole book. When the hour was come, he sat down, and the 12 apostles with him, and he said unto them, with desire I have desired to eat this Passover with you before I suffer. Y'all know where we're at, just kind of setting the scene. Jesus is with his disciples, getting ready to do the Passover meal. You know where we're at. Now go down to verse 20. He's kind of went through the Lord's Supper. It's the last of it. Likewise also the cup after supper, saying, this is the New Testament in my blood, which is shed for you. And behold, the hand of him that betrayeth me is with me on the table. And truly the Son of Man goeth as it was determined, but woe unto him, unto that man by whom he is betrayed. One more time down to verse 47. 47 says, and while he yet spake, behold, a multitude, and he that was called Judas, one of the 12, went before them, and drew near unto Jesus to kiss him. But Jesus said unto him, Judas, betrayest thou the Son of Man with a kiss? Just a minute, I won't be long. Forgiving Judas. Father, we're thankful for friends. We're thankful for family, Father. We're thankful that you love us enough that you counted us worth saving, Lord. Father, we don't know how people out in the world get through it without you. God, if it hadn't been for you this week, we don't know what we'd have done. Father, you kind of took care of us, and you wrapped your arms around us, and you've loved us. And God, there's more to it than just that. And we've got to look at that tonight, Father. I'm praying that you'll give me the words, Father. I want to give what you give me, not something that's of myself, God. Please keep my personal out of it. And you give us the words that you would have us to say, Lord. We'll give you praise and honor in Jesus' name. Amen. Genesis 50:20 says, "But as for you, ye sought evil against me, but God meant it unto good." The story of Judas is well documented, not just in churches, but in the world. You see in movies, you see on TV shows, and they'll say he's a Judas. He's stabbed him in the back, or he's done this, or he's betrayed somebody. You've seen that in every TV show or movie or whatever. And so that's one of those stories that's told all through the world. Out of the Bible, he was known as a betrayer. But I want us to look at three things real quick. First of all, it was a personal attack. It was personal. Look at verse 4. He went his way and communed with the chief priests and captains how he might betray him. Not them. Him. Unto them. And I think what happens is, just being straight up, this ain't the first time I've been betrayed, y'all. I've been betrayed many times in my life. There's been a lot of people that's hurt me, a lot of people that said things against me, true and untrue. But I think sometimes when we get in the wrong crowd, when we get with the wrong group of people, we hang around the wrong friends, that sometimes our mind gets twisted around and we don't really see the truth or see what's real. Or we get into the wrong motivation. Verse 5, and they were glad and covenanted to give him money. He was motivated. I mean, I've tried to sit and think about this for not just this week, many, many times. How somebody who walked with Christ for 3 years, who saw what he did, who saw the miracles that he did, the love, the compassion, who seen everything about him, who this person was. They seen him. And yet, he still turned his back on him. I don't understand that. That don't register with me, y'all. I can't see that. I could see if it was an evil person, or somebody that was spiteful, somebody that was hateful, somebody that done bad to people, or done. I could see somebody turning their back and saying, "Yeah, maybe I need to just turn this fellow in, or I need to stay away from this fellow." Sometimes we get caught up in the wrong group of people, and sometimes we have the wrong motivation. And this was a personal attack. What we went through this week was a personal attack. And I'm going to get into more of it. And I know it hurt a lot of people, but it was personal. It was a personal attack. This person, whoever this person is, and it's irrelevant, set out to hurt me. But not only is it a personal attack, it was a painful attack. Not just for me, for those around me. Look over in verse 23. The disciples. Jesus said, "One of you is going to betray me." What did the disciples do? And they began to inquire among themselves which of them it was that should do this thing. And there was also a strife among them. Which of them should be accounted the greatest? Listen, when we betray somebody, even when it's that one person that we're after, we will hurt all those around. Judas wasn't going after the disciples. Judas hung out with the disciples. That was his boys. That's not who his intentions were against. His intentions were against Jesus. But every action has a reaction. Every action has a consequence. And the problem is, we get in our minds that, well, I'm forgiven, so I'm free of this thing. And God says, no, the sins that you do, you can be forgiven for, but there's still consequences for those sins. You still must face the consequences. And I keep going back to King David, and King David slept with Bathsheba. We know the story. He slept with Bathsheba, got her pregnant. They had a son. And God said, I'm going to take that son from you. And David repented. He put the sackcloth, done the whole 9 yards, went through all the thing, didn't eat for 3 days, just all the stuff that he was supposed to do. He went to the altar. He said 15,000 Hail Marys. Whatever it was he was going to do, he went out and he done what he was supposed to do. And God still took the boy. Because when there's sin, there's still consequences. And when there's an action, there's still a reaction. And when you betray someone, you hurt not only that one person, but you hurt all those around them. John 13:21 says, when Jesus had thus said, he was troubled in his spirit. Testified and said, verily, verily, I say unto you that one of you shall betray me. Folks, it hurts to be betrayed. It hurts to be betrayed whether you know the person or not. It hurts to be betrayed. We've talked about this even at Trinity, and Eric has spoken to me. I've heard other preachers preach how sometimes we wonder why God allows us to go through this. And we think, I wasn't doing nothing wrong. God, I felt like I was doing everything right. And God, I'm reading my Bible, I'm going to church, and I'm doing everything that you told me to do. God, why am I going through this? It's because God knew that if you didn't go through this, you would never make it through this. And so God brings you through steps to strengthen you, to give you more faith. We taught that in Sunday school. Some of y'all wasn't in Sunday school with me, but I used this illustration from David Jeremiah. I love it. He said, if Brother Robert asked me to go ice fishing with him, I don't know what we'll go ice fishing. We go ice fishing around here. Would you rather have a whole lot of faith and a quarter-inch of ice, or a little bit of faith, 3 foot of ice? Exactly. I'd rather have the 3 foot of ice and a little bit of faith. You see, faith is not anything without the substance of our faith, the source of our faith. He is who brings us through it. It's not what we do and how we act and the things that happen to us. But this is what I want us to get. Yes, it was a personal attack on me. It was a personal attack on, or a painful attack on all those around me. Look at all the people that was hurt through this one act that happened this week. Think about all the different people that was hurt and people that asked questions. Listen, we've got some of Tammy's family that's not in church. They don't understand why we can't go to that church anymore. And not trying to get into details. We're just saying, we're going to a different church. People don't understand that. I had guys that I work with who's been promising me for a few weeks they were going to come to church, and I had to go say, hey, listen, I'm not going to that church anymore. And we talked about some things. I didn't go into any detail. I didn't say anything. I just said, we're just going a different way. And, kind of doing things. It affected all around, y'all. All around us. People went to work tired. People went to work upset. But it wasn't just a personal attack. And it wasn't just a painful attack. You need to understand that it was a planned attack. And when I say planned, I'm not talking about from the person who did it. Verse 21, Jesus is talking. And this is before anything happened. He said, behold, the hand of him that betrayeth me is with me on the table. God was not caught off guard because Judas betrayed him. He knew before the beginning of time that Judas would betray him. It still says he was troubled in his spirit. That he was still upset. Jesus, it bothered Jesus. He's God, and it still bothered him. That these people, that this person was going to do this thing to him. He knew he was going to do it before he ever did it. And I didn't put the verses in here, but how many remember what he done after he said this? He went and washed their feet. Not just Peter's. He washed all of them. Read the scriptures. He washed every single, including Judas. He bent down and he washed the feet of the man who was betrayed.
Ain't that because we're supposed to get the body?
We're supposed to forgive. It's easier said than it is to do it. But here's the thing. God knew it was going to happen long before we were even. God knew that this was going to take place. Do I know the reason? No. I mean, I can make guesses, and I can come up with little ideas of just maybe why God may have done this. I don't know why God did this. We talked, and Tammy will tell you, we've talked about this numerous times at church when we give prayer requests. And I always say, God, you've heard the request. That's just what we know. What about the inside of that person? Why? We pray for somebody's healing, but why are they sick? God, are you trying to teach this person something through this sickness? If we had our way, and we lived back in the biblical days, and Daniel was going into the lion's den, oh man, we'd been getting petitions up. We'd been pitching a fit. We'd been protesting, knocking over statues. We'd been doing all that stuff. We'd have been all up in arms because he ain't done nothing wrong. Why are you putting him in the lion's den? But God needed him to go in the lion's den. He needed to see that God was in control of his life. The 3 Hebrew children, you think that was fun? That they had to go face that fire? I mean, listen, that would have scared me. That would have been a terrifying thing. And they said, God, He's able to deliver us. But if He don't, which tells me they didn't know if they was going to be delivered or not. They were scared. They were human. I'm scared, y'all. I don't know what God's wanting me to do. I don't know which way I'm supposed to turn. I sit with Preacher Bill this morning, and I said, Bill, I don't know. I don't know what to do. He asked me which way. I don't know. I know this. I've been praying for a while that God would show me what it was He wanted me to do. I hadn't shared this with everybody. Last Sunday when we left church, and Mama tell you I told her this last week. Me and Tammy had talked. We were on our way to Kannapolis. Tyler was in the car. He'll tell you the same thing. I said, I believe I'm done there. I believe I'm done there. And I got to Kannapolis, and I went to church up there, that revival that was taking place at Piedmont Baptist, that CT was preaching. And I'll be honest with you, I don't hear what he preached on. My mind was going 100 million different ways. But my heart was burnt. My mind was burnt. I went down to the altar and I said, God, I am an idiot. I'm a dummy. I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I don't need no amens. I said, God, you got to put it in my face. I don't know what to do. You got to put it right in front of me. Tammy will tell you, I told her that night. I shared with CJ that night. The exact same thing. Monday morning I got a text and all this happened. Why did I have to go through it this way? I don't know. Why did we have to suffer and go through this stuff that we did all week and argue and fuss and be upset and mad at people and feel betrayed? I don't know. But he does. I've got to trust him. That what took place was part of his plan. You say, but what they done was bad. Yes, it was, but still part of his plan. The Bible says that all things work for the good to them that love him. I don't know. I love the people in that church over there, y'all. They're very, very close to me. I've had phone calls, I've had text messages, I've talked to people. They don't understand, and I don't understand, and y'all don't understand, but I've got to know that he does. He understands. He knows what's going on. This is his plan, not mine. There is no way that God will ever use me or anybody else that's sitting in this room to forgive not that person, but what's took place. It's not about us. We talked a little bit about this with Mama before when we were sitting over here. It's not about getting in their face and look what we're doing. It's not about, it's nothing about that, y'all. We got a lost and dying world out here. I mean, watch the news, for Lord's sake. How are we supposed to reach the world when all we're doing is bickering amongst ourselves? I don't know what God's got in store for us. I don't know. I haven't got a peace. I don't know. But I know I can't quit. And I know I can't dwell on what's took place. And whoever that person was, whoever that Judas was, they were just part of God's plan. To them, it may have been personal. To us, it may have been painful. But to him, it's been the plan all along. That's how we've got to look at each other. Don't dwell on them people. Don't be mad at nobody. Don't be angry at people. Trust in God. And say, okay, God, now what? I've said all along, and I'll tell y'all sitting here, I'll tell y'all sitting here, I'll tell y'all sitting here, no amount of hurt would bother me a bit. Y'all went back over to the Baptist church. No. There's good people in that church. There's good people in that church. But as far as me, my house, we're going to serve the Lord. We're going to. Maybe not there. We're going to serve the Lord. I can't stop just because somebody wants me to stop. I got too much invested. I've got a wife. And I got a son right here. I can't stop, y'all. I can't quit. I can't lay down and say, well, they beat me. I've got to let it go. I can't do that. I've got to say, God, you pick me up from here and you put me over here and you set me down. And you've got my attention. What do you want? And whatever he leads me to do, I've got to be willing to do it. And until he puts it right in front of my face and says, this is it, I'm not going to jump. I can't. We've talked about starting our own church, having our own worship. I can't say we're going to do that because to me, I don't know what God's going to do yet. I don't know. I wish I did. I wish he would. I'm scared to ask him to put it in my face again. God is a little easier this time. But there's a reason for everything. It's His plan. And that's how we've got to look at it, y'all. We've got to look at it. It's got nothing to do with me. It's got nothing to do with y'all. As personal as it was for me, as painful as it was for you, it was His plan. That's what we got to remember. The Assyrians, if you read over in Isaiah, were an evil bunch of people. God took that group of people that were already doing stuff. There was already an evil entity. He said, I'm going to take this and I'm going to use what they're doing to get your attention. If you've ever read over in Isaiah when the Assyrians came in and attacked Jerusalem, He did it to get their attention. I don't know who it was, don't care. I've got to look and say, God, what do you want now?
All things work out for our good, but His glory.
So, I know this is a weird thing sitting here, y'all. Kind of out of whack. Stand up here with a little metal thing. Y'all sitting on camping chairs. Some of us in dresses, some of us in shorts. Some of us half asleep.
It reminds me of my grandfather's house. We used to when we had music machine in the winter, so we gathered at his house.
I will say this. I keep going back to that verse Paul spoke. He said, I thank God. I was counted worthy. Because that's what it was, you know. Someone who does not want the gospel. Where do we go from here? I don't know. We're going to meet here, I guess, Wednesday night. Have a Bible study. It's open to anybody that wants to come. Sunday morning we'll have a service right here. One good thing about having church here, we can move the table out of the way, we can open the door, and if somebody gets saved, we can baptize them right here, right now. You know what I'm saying? We got our big baptistry pools, and everybody can jump in and help baptize the person. You know what I'm saying? She needs to be held down to the bubble stop. That's what she But sure enough, y'all, listen. We're going to have church here for a little while. 2 weeks I'm going to be gone. We're going to the beach. If we want to have church here, if y'all want to go visit somewhere, if y'all want to go back to Trinity, y'all do what you do. You have to answer to God. Not me, not my family. You answer to God. You have to do what's right for you. I've got to do what's right for my family, no matter who gets married. That's what I've got to do. I've got a son whose soul I've got to worry about. I've got a wife whose soul I've got to worry about. That's my concern. I'm not saying we're going to start a church. We might. I don't know that. God hasn't told me either way. We may start. We may start a church. I ain't the pastor. I'll go in and we'll find us a pastor. I don't know what God's going to do. I just know I can't stop. I've got to keep having church. I've got to keep worshiping. I've got to still preach. We've got to pray. We're supposed to be gone 2 of the next 4 weeks. We're going to be at the beach for Labor Day, and then I'm doing homecoming in Tennessee. And a family reunion all on the same day. Had a funeral yesterday. But I challenge you, if we're not here, go somewhere. Go back to Trinity, go to another church, visit around. And I don't want to make a drastic decision.